Thank you so much, Ola, and lovely to see you online. Thank you very much. Ina mana ina reo ina karanga. Maha o te wā tēnā koutou katoa. To all authorities, all voices, to the many chiefs gathered here today, behold the breath of life. Warm greetings to everyone, and I'm so privileged to be one of your presenters speaking to you today. My name is Shiloh Babbington, and I come to you from Wellington City, the capital of New Zealand. As an Indigenous person, I'm inclined to act behind the scenes without recognition or support while facing inequalities and discrimination. As a woman, I'm inclined to act behind the scenes without recognition or support while facing inequalities and discrimination. As a young person, I'm inclined to follow in the steps of the people around me. This cycle is a continuous loop because our voices haven't been heard. This is why, as a young Indigenous woman, I've devoted my career to uplifting my community because I know what it feels like to be unheard, overlooked, and underestimated. That's why I've made it my mission to challenge the systems that silence us, create spaces where our voices lead, and take action to ensure our stories are not only heard, but drive real change. Ko hekurangi ko taumatu ngā maunga, hekurangi and taumatu are my mountains, ko waipu ko mongapoike ngā awa, waipu and mongapoike are my rivers, ko harota ko takitimu ngā waka, harota and takitimu are my canoes, ko Ngāti Porou ko Ngāti Kahunguna ki te Wairoa ngā iwi. These are my tribes. I am an Indigenous New Zealander. As Māori, I trace my whakapapa, genealogy, back to my land. I and my family before me connect to a particular mountain, river, and migration canoe. My ancestors migrated here to build a life for themselves and their future generations in New Zealand. Over time, as they established themselves in different regions, our tribes came into existence. So when introducing ourselves, Māori share our whakapapa, our connection to the land to build connections with others. Our land is of paramount significance to Māori, socially, culturally, spiritually, politically, and economically. Indigenous communities share a sense of obligation rather than ownership, people belonging to the land as opposed to land belonging to a person. Indigenous knowledge, passed down through generations, holds insights and solutions critical for confronting global challenges like climate change. As we are aware, our planet is undergoing unprecedented shifts, and as custodians of traditional knowledge and stewards of the environment, Indigenous communities see themselves on the front lines of a battle against a changing climate. We not only witness the changes, we live them. Indigenous peoples are often most directly impacted by the impacts of climate change. Every day, these impacts threaten the continuation of our practices, our knowledge, and our identities. For Māori, climate change isn't just an environmental threat, it's a threat to who we are. The images you see are of my friend's marae, a sacred meeting house, destroyed in our recent cyclone. This is not a distant reality, it's happening now. But yet, in the face of such loss, I see opportunity. I believe that from this existential challenge, we can create new pathways. I've come to realize it's not just climate change, it's people who lead change. I'm a part of the Global Research Alliance on Agricultural Greenhouse Gases, GRA, which is an international organisation with 68 member countries who work collaboratively, finding ways to grow more food without growing greenhouse gas emissions. The GRA partners with key international and regional organisations to find ways to meet global food security objectives while contributing to overall climate change mitigation, adaptation, and overall resilience. In the GRA, we acknowledge the value of Indigenous knowledge in addressing the global challenges we face. The Global Research Alliance has several research groups and networks that fall under them. I lead the Indigenous Research Network, IRN, co-led by New Zealand and Samoa. The IRN aims to strengthen Indigenous voices in global agricultural issues and to help empower traditional knowledge and practices to be used in our fight against climate change. Māori only comprise around 2% of the scientific community in New Zealand. underrepresentation in the New Zealand scientific community is replicated across Indigenous peoples globally. Climate change is only one part of the challenge. Colonisation, inequity, and stereotyping create layers of difficulty for Indigenous peoples navigating the world of silence. The IRN aims to help overcome the existing barriers and career pipelines for Indigenous peoples and use traditional knowledge and methods of learning to build capability for today and for future generations. We are working with our partners to create opportunities for Indigenous peoples, leadership, influence, education, and employment in these spaces globally. Over the last 3 years, the Indigenous Research Network has gained a lot of interest from our activities globally. We currently have 41 countries represented in the IRN's membership, and the number of individuals and communities grows daily. In 2022, we established the Tangata Whenua Alliance. Tangata Whenua means people of the land, by Māori for Māori, connecting Māori into agricultural greenhouse gas emissions research, as well as mitigation technologies and practices. The Tangata Whenua Alliance is to support New Zealand's participation in the Indigenous Research Network. It is an important aspect of the Indigenous Research Network because to be able to start the conversation, exchanging and helping our partners, we need to understand ourselves, Māori, our interests, our knowledge, our practices across tribes, and how we want to engage internationally. And only then we can weave our experiences together with Indigenous partners around the world and potentially help others develop their own domestic alliances where we can work collaboratively through the Indigenous Research Network. We aim to enable and empower Māori as weavers of knowledge with other Indigenous communities around the world. As I often say, New Zealand can't change the world, but it can help lead to a change in the world. For Indigenous peoples, relationships come first, science and action follow, and starting the conversation is often the hardest part of engagement. Many Indigenous peoples aren't ready to share the unique knowledge globally, and I understand why. It requires a vulnerability, a willingness to speak about barriers, to relive struggle, and to challenge systems that were never built for us. I want to acknowledge the reality of that struggle because imposter syndrome is real. I feel it with every breath I take between words here on an international Zoom. Yet I'm expected to lead in this space when I feel often not capable enough because of Indigenous stereotypes, not respected enough because I'm a woman, and not wise enough because I'm young. But if I listen to those doubts too closely, I wouldn't be here at all. If climate decisions are to be truly effective, they must include all voices, regardless of their age, gender, or ethnicity. These photos captured are a joint IRN and APEC workshop series that I created, The Power of Inclusivity, focused on empowering young Indigenous women in climate conversations, decisions, and actions. This series defined inclusivity as empowering others to participate, lead, and thrive at all levels. The standout from what I learned is that the truth is Indigenous peoples often underestimate what we do and who we do it for. We're not just placeholders in decision-making rooms. We're contributors, innovators, and leaders. We carry knowledge systems refined over generations. We perform countless roles in our communities, our businesses, and our tribal organizations. And more often than not, we do half, if not more, of the action. Across our networks, the message is clear. Indigenous communities are ready to lead, share, and shape the future. But readiness needs support through resources, respect, and relationships. It's time to create opportunities that genuinely value Indigenous leadership, not as a token gesture, but as a vital force in the global fight against climate change. While we've made meaningful progress in the Indigenous Research Network, it is only the beginning. So now we're looking to the next step, a step that brings our collective vision into action. The IRN connects Indigenous peoples across borders because the challenges we face are shared and so must be the solutions. The question I leave with you today is, do you want to be part of the solutions? The GRA has global research projects referred to as flagships. Here are some examples. A flagship project is a multi country project with shared objectives and clear outcomes, designed to be achieved within a 3 to 4 year period. Flagships are led, funded, and carried out by multiple countries to have global relevance and impact. Together, we can create the first ever Indigenous led flagship project, one that's transferable, scalable, and above all, rooted in traditional knowledge. We need your partnership to co create something that lasts way beyond the Zoom, a flagship project focused on locally sourced and traditionally used systems, led by Indigenous peoples, based on traditional practices, and backed by the global scientific community. This is your invitation to be part of the journey, to listen, share, connect, and to act. So feel free to get in touch with me if you'd like to be part of the flagship project. The Indigenous Research Network is a platform to connect, fostering intergenerational and cross cultural knowledge exchange. It centres the urgent need for dialogue, where Indigenous knowledge holders, scientists, climate experts, and policymakers come together to create solutions for the future. By blending traditional wisdom with scientific knowledge, we can uncover new ways to reduce emissions, strengthen agricultural resilience, and adapt food systems to a changing world. The power of Indigenous inclusivity begins with access. With networks like the Indigenous Research Network and others here listening today, providing real pathways for our people to lead and thrive. Whether you are Indigenous or a champion wanting to support, I welcome you into the Indigenous Research Network. Together, let's be the change we want to see in the world. E hara takutoa I te toa takitahi, ngarihi toa takitani. My strength is not mine alone. It is the strength of the many. Kia ora koutou katoa. Thank you very much.
You so much. I can't see any questions. I had few when you were speaking, but you actually answered them. I was very impressed with your presentation. Like you had so many scientists there working together, and you mentioned you invited everyone to join your project because that's what is about what new opportunity you can create and work for Indigenous research to collaborate globally, which is really amazing. What countries from Europe did join you, if I can ask, as a part of your?
I'll put the countries in the chat.
Thank you so much.
So I don't want to take too much of your time.
Yes.
But yes, feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions or would like to be part of the network. Thank you so much.
That's very impressive. Very impressive. Thank you so much. Anyone else has a question? Next speakers from New Zealand. We have Ray O'Brien, who actually joined our conference, our first conference, and also Geely O'Brien. I hope you can also amuse us about your amazing action you do in New Zealand and outside probably too.
Can I just confirm you can hear me and see
Yes,
the
very
slide?
well, Ray.
And you
Yes.
can see the presentation as well? Excellent.
Yes.
Okay.
Jill, can you check your mic as well?
Sure,
Really?
kia ora. Can you hear me
Perfect.
okay, Ola?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kia ora.
Bye. Kia ora.
Uh, I'll make a start. First of all, Shiloh, tēnā koe i tō whakaro, ko he rakatira pai ki tēnei tino hira hira kaupapa. Tēnā koe. Yeah,
Kia ora.
yeah. So, kia ora, I'm Ray O'Brien. I'm a tumuaki of Toitu Te Taiao here at Atako Whakaihu Waka. I'm head of sustainability here at the University of Otago. Um, I am a Scotsman by birth. I've been here for 20 years, refusing to give away my accent. My ancestors go back to both the north of Scotland and across to the west coast of Ireland, and the mountain that my ancestors would have lived under and looked upon is Mount Brendan out on the west coast, where Brendan the Navigator took to the seas round about the same time as some of the great stories of the Pacific navigators were happening as well. But I'm here in Aotearoa in Te Waipunamu with my English wife, my Welsh daughter, my Kiwi son, living the best life here. And I'll pass over to Jilly to introduce herself.
Kia ora tātou. Hello, everybody. Ko ingarangi te whakapaparanga mai e te puake a hoki Yorkshire engari e nei nei ki o te poti ki roto Pātiki tōku kaika. He kai whakamātautau hine ngaro ko Jilly O'Brien tōku ikua. So, hello everybody, I'm Jilly O'Brien. I am an educational psychologist and I work at Massey University on their clinical educational psychology programs. And it's lovely to be here this afternoon. So thank you to you all. Kia ora.
So I'll make a start on our presentation, and then I'll pass over to Jilly, who's really done most of the heavy lifting on this one. But what we are presenting today is a mix of some of my doctoral research on learning design and some of Jilly's work redesigning papers and working as an educational psychologist. But what's really important at the start is we speak to our position, and neither of us are claiming to speak on behalf of, or take the place of Maori in this discussion. To some extent, this presentation is all about doing our side of the bargain rather than offering anything to anybody else. It's about taking on our own responsibility in this bargain. So this is the sort of overview. I'll cover what is learning design. We will chat a little bit, Jilly will chat a little bit about te tiriti and psychology. Jilly will introduce the pre-reflective framework that we've put together to guide some learning design decisions, and we'll take that all the way into practice. But learning design. I guess learning design is one of those ideas that is quite often put in a tiny little box, and it's the stuff that people do to make e-learning resources. Yeah, and that's kind of where it started from. Learning design goes back to US military